This is the beginning of our family. Dad and I were married September 14th, 1961 in the Salt Lake Temple.
This is my father, LeVar Isaacson, and my mother, Gladys King Isaacson, and my grandmother, Mariah Lyman King.
This is my family on a rock in Brighton. My father, Ludwig Andreas Olson, my mother, Nancy Dipple Olson, Lud, Glenn, and I. This is my family in the front of our home. My father died when he was 49. Glenn and I were 18. He had a kidney condition. These are the kids, myself, Lud, and Glenn.
And this is my family, including Lola and Howard and Shauna and Sam and Twyla, and Gwen and I, and Mother and Dad. And here we see the extended family with Mike and Carrie and Stan and Michelle and Eric and Scott and Elizabeth and Suzette.
This is Dad's graduation. We're standing here with me and my mother, Nancy Nathalia Delphine Dipple Olson.
I received my PhD in Mechanical and Fuels Engineering from the University of Utah in 1962. This is the cap and gown that I wore for many convocations throughout the years of my career at the University of Utah.
This is my graduation in 1963 with a degree in history teaching, and the next day we headed for Downey, California for a year. These are the birth picture of those three Isaacson kids, starting at the left, Lynette, Nancy, and Tom. Lynette, this is the first picture, official picture that we took of you. We took you to ZCMI, and you had a little bit of a fever that day, but you were a real trooper. We took your old pictures of each one of you, and Lynette, this is yours. This is your first experience with Santa Claus. I don't think you quite had the spirit of it. Our first family picture, Mom and Dad and Lynette. You had a pixie haircut that we used to get up at the Foothill Barbershop. This is the summer of 1966, and this is Capitol Reef, and this represents the first trip that we had as we began our mini trips to southern Utah. We're going to be going to the Cat Ranches, which is on the east side of the Henry Mountains. There's a cabin there that is occupied by a hermit, and he left for the city while we were there. And Lynette, because you were a baby, we were lucky enough to be able to sleep in the bedroom in that Cat Ranch, except that he had his shoes and his clothes there, and they smelled badly. And I spent most of the night with my nose towards the open window trying to get some fresh air and pulling you up because the bed was a creaky old bed and not very comfortable. It was a beautiful place to be, and we wished it were still there for us to go visit. It's always been a fun thing to have a shower bath in the backyard on a hot summer day, and this is you, Lynette. The diaper that you're wearing is the kind that we used in those days, which was a cloth diaper with a Gerber plastic pant over it. As you can see, we can also use it for a swimsuit in that shower bath, and you can also use it as a little pose for a girl who liked to do a lot of posing.
This is a trip to Lava Hot Springs with Grandma Nancy Olson and Lynette, and we were swimming in the pool, enjoyed the water and the surroundings up there, and enjoyed our stay at the Lava Hot Springs in Idaho. And this is a family gathering in front of the home on Mercury Drive in the summer of 1966. And here is the arrival of Nancy Ann in our family and a visit to Lud and Jackie's to show off our new baby. And this is Nancy Ann's year-old picture. Such a precocious child. She brings a smile to our faces and a blessing in our lives. This is the day that Tom was blessed, and we're all dressed up. And now we have 3 children under 3 years of age. What a blessing in our lives.
In '68, we decided to have a Christmas card with the picture of all of our 3 children on it, and here they are. There isn't anything better than watching a child eat spaghetti and even getting some of it in their mouth. Here's Smiley Nancy attempting to walk, which she did between 9 and 10 months, as did as did Lynette and Tom. We started Nancy out in a walker, but she was destroying everything 2 feet and up from the floor because she was going so fast. We had to put her back on her feet and her knees until she was able to handle walking.
Nancy enjoyed wearing a coat, and here she is in a bright red coat, walking around in the front room, enjoying herself. Here, big sister is taking care of little sister out on the back patio at our home on Browning Avenue.
This is Tom in a porta-crib that we had borrowed from Aunt Kay. It's placed in the corner of our bedroom where we kept Tom for the little while he was first born. This is Nancy and Tom playing in the bedroom just across from ours. They've always had a good time together. This is Tom again in the porta-crib. As you can see, he's getting bigger because he's starting to do push-ups.
Here is Tom at a year old picture that we had for each of the children, smiling and happy at that time. Here's our family portrait of all of us together. This would be in 1969. Here's Nancy Ann wearing a nice coat. Must have been cool. She's out in the backyard running across the grass. And here's Lynette and Nancy out on the back porch enjoying the fresh air. Tom in his walker on the grass. We kind of give him a little bit of a handicap there to get him moving around a lot.
Picture of the family getting ready to get in our Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser that we really enjoyed, getting ready to go someplace. Again, a shower bath in the backyard with the 2 bathing beauties, Nancy and Lynette. Swing set in the background. I think that's one reason we bought this home. And here's Tom on a hot summer day getting in the backyard in his little short overalls. This picture was in one of the church magazines taken by Sher Martin. They needed a picture of a little girl praying, and they asked if they could use Nancy, and this is the picture. Again, we had our 3 children on a Christmas card. We wrapped up some presents and had them sit down and take a picture. The dresses that Nancy and Lynette have on were made by Mother.
We bought an old home in Teasdale in the summer of 1970, and here are the kids with the neighbor's dog down there playing on the grass and enjoying the mountain country at Teasdale. We took many trips across the Boulder Mountain, and this is a picture out onto the Kaparowitz Plateau, and this is one of our favorite pictures, the 3 kids and Dad sitting on a rock on the Boulder Mountain. We're looking off to the east. This is over Hell's Backbone, where there's a narrow bridge across that ravine. We had to get out and walk across the bridge. Here we're teaching the kids how to do a little bit of yard work. Tom is driving the mower.
This is Tom in the backyard in a swimsuit, again enjoying something they did very often. That was to take a shower bath. This is our Teasdale house. As you can see, it's a goodbye. We tried to fix it up, but we still never spent one night in it before we sold it. This is at the back of the house. As you can see, the chicken coop and some of the other sheds. It was really a lovely piece of property. Another shot with Mother and the children with the Teasdale Tabernacle in the black background, which has since been fixed up and very lovely.
Here's Lynette and Nancy on the back patio. You can see how much taller Lynette is than Nancy at this point. They enjoyed playing together. Tom isn't walking quite yet in this picture, but we're not sure Nancy's going to help him out here either. Here he is crawling across the patio. Nancy's a little camera shy, which is unusual for Nancy. The kids played together really well in the backyard. The yard was fenced and they could just roam around and enjoy playing together. Here's a hug with Nancy and Lynette. The kids played well together and loved being together. In fact, as they were together most of the time in the growing up.
Tom, you have a bib on here. Hate to tell you this, but you drooled quite a bit, and this is the only way we could keep your shirt dry.
Dad and Edith were married in the Oakland Temple in California in December 17th, 1969. And here's Edith. What a great blessing she has been in our lives. Here's the group, including Bishop and Sister Fawns, that came to the wedding ceremony. We took Lynette with us, and Lola stayed with Nancy and Tom at home. And here's Lynette, kind of dwarfed by the fountain and the temple in the background. Here's Dad and Edith and Lynette and myself with the Oakland Temple in the background. What a beautiful sight that was. Lynette coming up across the grass toward the camera. What a trooper she was to travel with us that long way on a quick trip.
Tom, here you are on the front porch. You're walking. It's a cold winter day. You have on your red boots and your heavy coat and your gloves, and you're ready to go out and enjoy the snow. This is the rocking chair that I spent many an hour rocking all three of you kids day and night, and it was all pleasure, mostly. Here we are again by the Vista Oldsmobile that we love so much. The next picture you see will be Nancy with her Elizabeth Brockbank haircut. Lynette and Elizabeth and Nancy were downstairs playing. I went downstairs to check on them to see a pile of hair on one of the steps. I started to laugh because I knew what had happened. This is a picture of Tom, Lynette, Amy Jensen, Marina Damaris, and Nancy out in front of our place.
These pictures show us at the coral pink sand dunes in southern Utah on one of our many trips to the Red Rock country. The sun was extremely bright, and here we are stacked up taking a picture, enjoying the beautiful outdoors.
This is the girls outside. I don't know why it is, but little girls love to be under umbrellas on a rainy day. This is Tom. We found soon in our life that Tom preferred the box to the toy. This is Lynette. She was taking Dancy from Virginia Tanner's dancing school, and this was a very full nightgown that they were to wear. She loved being in it.
This is around March of 1971. We're down in Richfield, and this is my grandmother, Mariah Lyman King, and my aunt, Rhoda Peterson. This is the Richfield home for my grandmother and grandfather for many years. This is over at Kingston, Utah, the site of the United Order that Thomas Rice King founded. This is the Grass Valley Ranch that was run by my grandfather, Balney Emery King. We went down every summer and stayed there as Dad and Mother worked on the ranch. And more of the Red Rock country down by Capitol Reef, which we enjoyed so very much.
We're in about April of 1971. This is a long string of beads, and you kids put it around all three of you, and of course Mother had to take a picture of it. This is Easter. You're all dressed up in your Easter finery. Two of you have your Easter baskets in your hands. This is a birthday party for you, Lynette, and this is a picture of all those that attended. We're on our front lawn.
This is an Isaacson reunion at Snow College in Ephraim in about September of 1971. This is Uncle Ed Isaacson, as he walks across the lawn at the Snow College in Ephraim. This is a picture of Peter Isaacson in the museum at Snow College that we just happened to see.
Here's Tom. As you can see, he's wearing a cowboy hat. We always have to have cowboy hats for little boys. This is the three kids with our dog. It was a basset hound. We never heard it bark. All we did was just clean up the backyard from him. Lynette, all dressed up by our car. This is Tom and Johnny Aldis and Roger Brockbank. Tom and Johnny are really scary. This is some more neighborhood kids, Johnny Aldis, Lissa Grickscheit, Nancy, and Tom in our front yard. Always have to have shower baths. It was fun to have one on the in the front yard with water running down the driveway. Two bathing beauties now on the hot cement getting warm after a cold shower bath.
Here we're getting ready to go on a trip to the Red Rock Country in May of 1972. We've got Harold and Brenda and Elizabeth and Roger Brockbank and Joan and Nancy and Lynette and Tom and Gwen and I and Grant. Here we are at Sunglow Canyon outside of Bicknell. It's one of our favorite places. This is on top of Thousand Lake Mountain on our way to Cathedral Valley. This is looking off into the country from up on top of Thousand Lake Mountain. Beautiful country. We've only been there once. This is called Cathedral Valley, part of the Capitol Reef National Park. Cathedral Junction with all of us there. Joan is taking the picture and off toward Thousand Lake Mountain with the sheer cliffs of Cathedral Valley. Spectacular place. We haven't been back, unfortunately, to Cathedral Valley. This is on top of the Boulder Mountain looking over toward the Lower Bounds Reservoir. In the distance are the Henry Mountains. This is spring on the road over the Boulder Mountain. Right at this spot we broke a radiator hose and we had to stop and repair the hose. This is looking down toward Long Canyon, coming out on the Circle Cliffs area. This is looking across Circle Cliffs toward Capitol Reef National Park and the Water Pocket Fold. The road is called the Burr Trail. We stopped and had lunch. Truman was taking us on a trip back into the backcountry to look for petrified wood. And here's the group all together. That's Edith over on the right. Dad and Edith were with us, and Truman and his wife. This is another trip that we took to the Red Rock Country in early 1973. This trip we took with Grant and Joan and their family. We took two automobiles. We went down into the Circle Cliffs area and went around by Lampstand, where Grant and Joan's automobile had a flat tire. We came on out of the Circle Cliffs and stayed at the Padre Motel that night, and then the next day we got up and drove up over the Escalante Mountains. This is a view from the Escalante Mountains out to the south. Then we drove on ahead over to the Widso Junction, and we drove up through Antimony, and we lost sight of Grant and Joan and stopped at the cemetery where we found the graves of Olney King and Thomas Rice King and many of the King clan. We decided we'd better go back and find Grant and Joan, and they'd had a second flat tire. We went to Junction and got another tire and went back and put it on the car.
We decided we better give you an experience out at the Great Salt Lake, and here we are trying it out. It turned out to be very salty, as you know. Here we are at the top of Guardsman's Way, just over from Brighton, and Mary Kay Green is with you, Lynette. We took her with us that day. This is back in our front yard, and Nancy, I made those pants that you've got on. Can you believe that material? That's Lissa Grickshot and, of course, Tom, being very serious. This is Tom's first attempt at carpentry, and Nancy's trying to help out. It's got to be good, Tom. And our dog, who is a nice dog to be around kids because he never bit or did anything. Can't remember if his name was Tippy or not. This is snow in our front yard, and you kids out playing in the snow and having a good time. Another picture, right down in it where it's good and cold. Remember those bushes on the corner of our lot there? Good old Halloween, kids all dressed up, ready to go. Those days they had to wear the scary outfits. Lynette did her first piano recital. Here she is at our piano. We had it in our home. Dad took you kids up by, this is the Place Monument in the mountains one afternoon, and this is Nancy at that spot. Another picture of Nancy. You can see there's still snow in the mountains at the time. We took Chris Damaris, and of course the ever-present dog was with you folks. This is our second trip to Boulder with the Brockbanks, and here Nancy and Lynette are at Truman's place. And Nancy, I also made the pants that you have on there. This was in May 1973. This is the post office, the Boulder post office that Leona Truman's wife ran. It was just in front of their home.
These pictures are from the area down by the Circle Cliffs and the Long Canyon. This is an area called the Gulch. And we're hiking up a trail to some Indian ruins up at the top of this little canyon. This is a picture of the ruins that we went up to visit. The storage bin for I believe it was the Anasazi culture. We love to take pictures of the flowers and the scenery of the countryside, and especially the dark rock and the red rock country. Here the women are visiting on the trail. We all got up to the top of the trail at the storage bin. Lynette on the trunk of an old tree. Pretty spectacular country. 4 kids down at the Gulch playing in the sand by the creek that flowed through the area. They love to play in the sand. Here we are on the trail again, visiting another site at the Gulch. Tom and Roger playing in the water. You give a couple of boys some water to play in, and they really have a great time, and the sand was wonderful. This is one of the turnoffs. We went on the road off to the right that goes to the Wolverine petrified wood area. The logs are large, and the country is very colorful. Here's Lynette on a petrified log, and Lynette and Tom and Roger looking off at something on a large petrified log in the area. The Wolverine area is one of our favorite areas. We've been back there several times to visit, to see the scenery. Here's Truman in his truck. Truman and Leona took us on a number of trips, and he took us down into the backcountry of the Circle Cliffs. Nancy looking at some spectacular rocks to pick up. Of course, you can't do that nowadays. Here's Lynette sitting on an ancient petrified tree, broken up. It's the colors in the country are really bright and beautiful. Here's another view of that tree spread out across the ground. Nancy's pointing at some mineralized part of the rock that looks kind of like gemstones. Nancy is pointing at possible gemstones that are formed in the petrified wood mineralization. You can tell the size of the capstone by the size of the folks that are standing around the base of the capstone. And here we're looking down toward what I believe is the Silver Falls Creek area, which leads to the Glen Canyon National Recreation Area. Here we see typical wildflowers, the daisies and the cactus, along with some mineralized gems. Here's Dad getting ready to get on board Truman's truck. Kind of hauled us around like cattle in that truck. This is a picture on the Hogsback from Boulder to Escalante. I believe that's evening primrose. This is up on the Hogsback, getting a view of the surrounding country in the morning. Another picture off into the distance from up on that viewpoint. This is looking down into the Calf Creek recreation area. There's a nice trail that leads to the Calf Creek Falls. And perhaps you can see Harold sitting on a rock on the side of that cliff in the morning. I believe this is at the Escalante River where we're getting things ready for a trip down the Burr Trail. We're packing our stoves and our automobiles. We always like to take 2 automobiles down there in case we have some difficulty. Here's Tom and Nancy and Gwen getting ready for the trip, washing hands, and here are the kids all on the trees having a great time in anticipation of our trip. It's a little cool, so they have their jackets on. This is the Slot Canyon off from the Burr Trail, up above the Circle Cliffs down in Long Canyon. We would walk down into that Slot Canyon down to the head end of it, which is formed by water, rain coming down and eroding back the canyon wall. This is the road on the Burr Trail just at the entrance to Capitol Reef National Park. We're looking at the Water Pocket Fold and the Henry Mountains in the distance. This is the switchback on the Burr Trail, and we're looking down toward the Bullfrog Road and Nodum Road. There's a good view of the switchbacks on the highway. The Park Service hasn't maintained that road, and it's a very difficult road to take. I wouldn't recommend it for an automobile, but a 4-wheel drive truck or SUV is fine. Here are the kids in the Capitol Reef National Park up on the clay cliffs and beautiful countryside in the park. It was a lot of fun to go up there in the springtime. This is in May of 1973, and here they found a bunch of caterpillars that they let run around on their hands, and we had a fun time. This is the cutoff from the Nodum Road toward the King Ranch on the west side of the Henry Mountains. This is the Fremont River as it comes out of the Capitol Reef National Park. Flows down over the rocks, makes a nice waterfall, and the kids had a great time. Lynette sitting by the river as it cuts down through the sandstone in Capitol Reef National Park. was a lot of fun to play in the water in this park, a beautiful park. Actually, one of our favorite parks, which we visit often. Here we are at the Visitors Center at Capitol Reef. We stayed at the Aquarius Motel in Bicknell, and we're unloading, getting ready for our stay at that motel. We went back and visited a ruin down in the park, hiking around, enjoying the countryside. This is the Hickman Bridge, which is a little bit of a hike off from the highway, but one of the beautiful sights in the park. Just got to see me through another day. My body's aching and
Lynette, this is your special day. It's April 28th, 1973. This is the day that you were baptized down in the tabernacle. Here's a picture of you all by yourself. Had to do that because it's your special day, and as you can see, we still have our Vista Cruiser off to the left there. Here you are looking up at the Siegel Monument as we're on the temple grounds. Here you are standing around the Siegel Monument. It was a beautiful fountain. People used to throw money in it, I guess, and make wishes. Here you are coming out of the tabernacle after your baptism. Your hair doesn't look quite as nice. Some of the people that were there, as you can see, that's Aunt Kay and Susie and Grandpa LeVar. We had the next day. We had your you were confirmed, and these were some of the family members that were there for your confirmation. It's like Cheryl and Jan Marie and some of Aunt Loretta and some of the rest of the Olson family. Nancy, this is you as you get ready to go to kindergarten. I think you look rather cute and you look excited, and the only trouble we had in school is we couldn't get you to stop talking. Tom, you're out helping Dad with the lawn again, and I think Dad wishes you were still here to do that. And Nancy, you're also good at mowing the lawns, and we always appreciated the help of you kids and things that we did. Lake, I had an Uncle Fred Dippo who owned a cabin there, and they had invited us up for the weekend. This was my mother's brother. There I am on the dock, and here's a picture of Tom and Lynette getting ready to go out on an inner tube. The beach was beautiful, and the water was clear, and it was a place where you kids spend all of your time in the water. Here you are out in the small motorboat that they had, and we think that that's your cousin Mark who's guiding the boat and making it work, and just taking a trip along the shore. Here you are again with a different view. So you can see how large the lake is and how beautiful it is. This is me on the dock. We took our dog up, and we know that this is Tippy because you can see the small white tip on his tail, and that's where he got his name. Lynette, here you are in the inner tube, just floating around in that clear water. It was a wonderful weekend trip with our family. Here a bunch of us are all out in the boats and just having a good time in the water. As you know, this is Aunt Loretta. You can tell how young we were when we took this trip. It's a fun thing to do with our small children. We're back to Teasdale. As you can see, we've put a new roof on the house, and we've also painted the yellow part plus the white part to make at least the outside look a lot better. This is Tom on one of the girls' bikes. We used to buy Swin bikes because they were good bikes. We knew that they could withstand young kids learning how to ride on them. Picture of Nancy with Tom. This has to be about October of 1973 because you have coats on here. This is Halloween. Looks like Tom, Meg, Nancy, Lynette. We don't know who that mask is on the end there. Picture of Nancy and Tom here by our fireplace. That's the gold sconce that we've never liked, hanging over the fireplace. This is Easter, so we're in April of 74. There's Tom, Nancy, and Lynette again with their Easter baskets. We had snow again that year. Another picture of you as we're getting ready to go to church that day. Single pose of Lynette, who liked to quite often pose for us and couldn't miss taking that picture. Picture of Tom in his new finery and hair combed and the whole thing. Picture of Lynette again, even with the snow out there, but with the warm sun, it made it possible to be outside without a coat on. Here's a picture of Nancy in her Easter outfit, posing out in front of our home. Chris Damaris, who lived just across the street, spent a lot of time with you kids, came over to take a picture that day, and Tom had to have his cowboy hat on. This time Mother joined the crowd. I think I made that red dress. I used to sew, believe it or not. This is a picture of the three of you as we came out of Grandma Olson's house. That Afghan that you have around you, Lynette, is one that Grandma made. Another picture of you there. It's hard to take only one picture of three cute kids.
This is a trip to the Red Rock country with Grant and Joan and their family, and Shauna and Dale have joined our group. And here we see a picture of the group. Looks like Joan is taking the picture. Tom and Roger are off somewhere else. And here we are at the Wolverine Petrified Wood area. The kids are all posing for the picture. This is walking up the Escalante River toward a Indian ruin up on the side of the cliffs, a little ways up in the river. Here is Lynette and Elizabeth in their twin shirts having a great time, great friends. Here Brenda and Harold are giving Nancy a possible dip in the river. They're having a lot of fun and swinging the kids around. I'm not so sure that Nancy got a dip in the water. I don't think she did at this point. Here we are at the Padre Motel on the next morning, getting ready for a trip down into the Circle Cliffs with Truman and Dad and Edith and Shauna and Dale there with us. I believe this is at the where the road crosses over the Escalante River. The kids love to stop down there and play. This is coming out of the Long Canyon and down into the Circle Cliffs area. We take the road off to the right to the Wolverine Petrified Wood area, and there's our family all perched on a large petrified log. And here's more of the group up a ravine that has the petrified logs all uncovered and are very interesting to see. Dad loved to haul petrified wood, and here Dad and Edith have each got a piece of petrified wood that they're hauling out from another area. Here is the turnoff to the lampstand. We like to visit the lampstand area. Grant and Joan's automobile has had a flat tire. The country with sharp rocks can be hard on tires, and so you have to be ready with a good spare tire in this country.
This is a picture of us at Pipe Springs. Again, we're with the Broadbanks. Pipe Springs is in the very southern part of the state. These are candygrams. I was primary president at the time, and we were getting ready to move to California, and one of the counselors used to always give candygrams to kids that were going to leave the ward. As you can see, Tom has eaten most of his. I wonder why, Tom. It was cute, and we had to take a picture of you three kids holding these darling candygrams. Here we are in California. We're at the motel, and you guys are in the swimming pool. It was a little bit cold, but the water was warm. And Tom, I think you had an earache and weren't able to go in swimming. It's no fun to have a nice swimming pool but not be able to go in. We were looking for a home, and so we spent some time in the motel. We do have a home and found it, and we came down to Santa Cruz to try out the beach, since that's where the beaches are so beautiful, and here we are all in the water. There you are on the sand, sitting down, probably getting close to lunch with Dad. Kathy Hansen was the close friend of ours in the ward, and this is a picture of us with Kathy Hansen and some of her kids. Brockbanks came down to see us, and here we are at SeaWorld enjoying our first experience there. This is probably where the dolphins are. Here we are with Brockbanks, as you can see Brenda and Joan, probably Roger, looks like you, Lynette, Tom. And we're watching the dolphins do their acts, and here they are in the air. Spectacular. The DeVrieses also came down. Larry brought his mother, and his mother had never left the state of Utah. Larry was doing some work on adhesives for dentists, and he was going to check out the barnacles on the bottom of a boat. So they visited with us, and we went up to a beach north of San Francisco with them, and Larry was going to do some checking on this while he was up there. We have Susan and Kenny in this trip also. Here's Tom contemplating the things of the world in your park. Here we are out on the beach. There's Larry's mother and Kay and Susan and Kenny and Dad. It was kind of a cold day. We had to have coats on. Even Nancy, as she went out in the water, had to have a sweater on. But as you can see, the beaches are beautiful, and you can see why we love being there. Nancy and Tom and Lynette, as we're down by the San Francisco Bay, you can see the Golden Gate Bridge in the background. This is another time we were at the beach. We had some other close friends in the ward, Claudia and Jim Johnson, and we went down to some beaches at Monterey, and this is a picture of that. We loved the formations that we saw along the ocean side, and we took a picture of that because we thought this was so unique. Here's a picture of Lynette with one of the Johnson girls digging in the sand, trying to build something. Mother was in town with us at that time, so she also went to the beach with us that day, and here's Tom in front of her giving us a nice wave. As you can see, Mother's gone to sleep, which is a nice place to go to sleep, and Nancy and Tom and one of the Johnson girls have buried themselves. This is February of 1975. We're still in California. We tried a lot of Saturdays to take in all of the events of California around where we lived. This was an amusement park that we took you kids to, and you can see it's still a little bit cold. At least Mother had a sweater on. Here you are in these cups turning around. Nobody got sick, thank goodness. There's a little boy there, but we're not sure who that is. Here's a picture of you three kids with Dad. Mother gets to take the picture. Another picture in this same park with the four of us there. We all have our coats on, but we had to see the country regardless if it was cold or warm. This is Monterey, along the beach of Monterey. We just loved it down there. It was just so beautiful. We had to put some pictures in showing how beautiful that country was. Another picture that we thought was worth taking, and here it is in this slide for your remembrance. We put you kids out on a rock and took a picture of all three of you with the ocean in the background. Then we took 3 individual pictures, and here's a picture of you, Lynette. Nancy, here you are looking out into the ocean as we took your picture on that beautiful Monterey beach. And here you, Tom, as you can see, the water back there was quite rough and hitting against the shore, and it made it look so beautiful. One distant shot with the clouds in the sky that makes it look oh so awesome. Another trip to the beach. We did that fairly often. We still have that old green cooler. Pictures of 3 kids who are being buried in the sand again, like the previous picture that we've seen. This is Easter. This is our home in Mountain View. You're all dressed up with your finery, and you always get an Easter. Got an Easter basket. Here we are on another trip on a Saturday. I have a red coat on. The only time I've owned a down coat is when I had to get one to keep warm in California. Here on you 3 kids having a good time as usual. This family that we're with here are Bee and Leo Folsom, and Lynette Amy was just a little bit older than you, and their little brother Doug was a little bit older than you, Nancy. And here we are at San Juan Bautista. It was a mission there along the coast of California that we went with them on a Saturday. This is the mission that we went to see. They were all up and down the coast of California, and we enjoyed visiting them. Here we are taking a picture again with the Folsoms and up against this huge rock that we found fascinating. Sam and Twyla came down to visit with us and stayed. Sam went out and golfed for a few days, and he loved that. And they'd come back to our place and have dinner. I think we went up to Point Reyes with them one day. This is up north of San Francisco. Grandpa and Grandma Edith came to visit us also, and so we did get our share of company while we were in Mountain View. While we were still in California, we took a tour down to Disneyland. Here we are getting ready to catch our airplane. Again, some sewing that Mother did on you 2 girls. The trip was just really a fun thing to do. We stayed at the Disneyland Hotel, which was right next to it, which made it more convenient. Here we are looking out of our room. There were paddle boats down there, and you'll see some pictures of us on the paddle boats.
This is the picture with the kids on the balcony of the hotel room looking out over the little lake that Disneyland had. Picture of the kids on the ship in the one of the lagoons in Disneyland. We would get up early in the morning and ride the tram and train over to the Disneyland, and then go over in the afternoon and take a rest, and then go back over and visit Disneyland again. So we had a busy days while we were at Disneyland. The flowers were beautiful, and the palm trees, everything looked really great on our trip.
Turn dark and full of cloud, and that old north wind should begin to blow. Keep your head together.
Some of our funnest pictures are with Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. Would go around Disneyland, and very colorful, and kids loved them, very photogenic. What a great time we had at Disneyland.
And you know, wherever I am, I'll come running. Oh, yes, I will see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, got to do is call. And
I think this is one of the cutest pictures that we had from Disneyland. They were on the teacups quite a bit. Lynette, you've got some licorice hanging out of your mouth. You can see we even bought a lot of goodies for you.
got a friend. People can be so cold. They'll hurt you and desert you. Well, they'll take your soul if you let them. Oh, yeah, but don't you let them. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Oh, baby, don't you know about winter, spring, summer, or fall? Hey, now all you got to do is call. Lord, I'll be there, yes, I will. You've got a friend. You've got a friend.
Flying on the airplanes was a great trip. Here are the three musketeers with the sun shining in their eyes. This is the monorail that we used to get back and forth to Disneyland from the hotel. This August afternoon in 1975 was one of the busiest times that Disneyland had. We had wall-to-wall people, but it was a lot of fun. We took in as many rides as we could. Here's the train ride through the miniature village, Alpine Village. We would get up early in the morning and ride the most popular rides by getting right in the front of the lines when it was just open. And then we would go see the less popular rides in the afternoon when there was less people at the rides. So that way we were able to see a lot of things at Disneyland. It was a great trip for us. We ate breakfast and some of our dinners over at a restaurant near our hotel, and all the bushes were cut into the form of animals, so that we really had a lot of fun, even around at the places around Disneyland.
This is the part of Disneyland that's called It's a Small World, and it was for small children, and it was someplace that you kids really enjoyed being. A little close-up picture with you kids and the dad. I don't exactly know what this is at Disneyland, but it was a place for you kids to climb and go up and see a rock house, and you enjoyed doing that. And then you got right up on top, and we took a picture of you while you were there. Log cabin. This boat was just loaded down with people. We were surprised that it was still floating. This is you kids at Knott's Berry Farm on which we also attended because it was close to Disneyland, and you're on the back end of a fire engine. And here's one of the rides. You went on it. It looked pretty scary to me. Here we are returning home from our trip, having just a wonderful time and glad we had gone. One of our day trips was a place called Columbia. It was an old mining town. Here we are standing in front of a team of horses with the stagecoach. This was done in August of '75. There you can see the whole team and the stagecoach a little bit better. Panning for gold was one of the things that we did, and you actually got little bits of gold. That's what they used to use Columbia for, was a place for panning gold. There was an old cabin that was there, and we decided to sit down and have a picture taken there. Again, panning gold from a different point of view. There's Lynette. So you can see Dad and I both had a camera because I have one around my neck, and Dad took a lot of pictures with his camera also.
While we were in California from 1974 to 1976, we set one of our goals as to visit as many of the interesting communities that we could, and so we made a number of trips over into the gold country of the Sierra Nevadas around Columbia and the other communities in that area, Sutter's Fort, east of Sacramento, into the mountains. And the country was beautiful, and the kids traveled so well, had a great time together, and these pictures show a number of those sites. The truth is, we can't remember all of the places that we visited, so maybe the kids can jog their memories and come up with the names of these places that we visited. This ghost town that we visited has one of my favorite pictures, and all of those that we took over the years. Of course, here are the kids on the old horse-drawn fire engine, but we visited a lot of animal parks, and this is it. This is one of my favorite pictures because the old goat is looking down on Tom and Lynette, and Tom's reaching up to touch that old goat. What a great picture.
This is October of 1975, and getting ready for Halloween. It's one holiday that the family's always enjoyed, Halloween. You can see that they're kind of clowning it up here. Lynette in a great pose, and I don't know where you got that outfit, Lynette, but you were creative. We had some friends that used to live on our street, Norm and Marcia Nelson. They moved to Walnut Creek, which was just out of San Francisco, and we took a trip up there one weekend to visit with them. Here we are in their backyard. There's Marcia and me visiting on the patio. That's one of Marcia's daughters standing there. We had a swimming pool, and as you can see, this group of kids were having a great time with this. Getting ready for a dive, and that's Nancy. Tom, we're making a guess here, but we're still in Mountain View, and we think this is probably September 1st, 1975, and it might be your birthday this morning. Here we are in our kitchen. We all made fun of that wallpaper, and we deserved to do that, didn't we? Looks like we're getting ready to do things for Thanksgiving there at the table. Tom sacked out on the old couch that we had there with us. The Afghan on the side was made by Grandma Olson. Again, we were taking some little Saturday trips to go do things that were fun with you kids in our surrounding area. As you can see, there were many of them. We're taking a ride on some little cars around a track right here. Here's a better look of it as we're driving that old-fashioned car. It was a real experience. Another picture. We haven't had an accident yet. Aren't we good? Dad was a good photographer this day, right? They also had some horses at this place, and we put 2 kids on those. Oh, not horses, they're burros. Yep, they are a burro. Not calling you that, Tom.
The 2 years that we spent in California, I was with the Electric Power Research Institute in the Stanford Research Park, and this is a shot of the entrance to Stanford University. I enjoyed going over to the bookstore in association with some of the faculty over at Stanford University. Here are the 3 kids in front of the fireplace in the house that we bought on Rose Avenue in Mountain View. You can see that we've got that beautiful shag rug. Here's Nancy at Springer School next to our home, and the 3 kids went over to the school. Tom's sacked out with a blanket and a pillow. How can you beat that for comfort?
Lynette, this is you laying on the floor. I'm sure I took that picture because your hair's so pretty. It was long and such a beautiful color. I don't know if you're reading the Wandads or not there. Here we are in the bedroom. Kids are sitting there playing a game, and mother's in a moo-moo. She's relaxing also. The 5 of us in front of our fireplace. Can you see your 3 pictures up on the mantle? They were school pictures. Here we are at the Science Center in San Francisco. You're watching a big pendulum that's going round and round. It was rather fascinating. We went out to visit Sir Francis Drake ship that was there just out in the harbor, and here's Tom with the cannon that was on that, small cannon. Tom was early into Legos. We still have a large part of those Legos, and he used to make some masterful things with them. This is the Springer School all along the one side. One summer, the principal had the children come over and draw whatever kind of pictures they wanted. They were very, very fun to look at. You can see them all down the line. Almost each building was separate for each grade. They could come directly right outside for recess or lunch or whenever they were going out. This is our home, which was right next door on Rose Avenue. We were right across the street from Los Altos.
Here's your beautiful mom, and on one of the trips that we took in the fall and winter of 1975 and 76. Kids riding around in those whirling teacups, and I think that looks like snow on the ground. And here's Pumpkinhead, fun to visit with. You kids are having a great time at this little park. Here are a couple of more pictures of you kids at this little park that we visited. We sure did enjoy these carnival rides that seem to be everywhere at these little parks.
This is on the west side of our house in Mountain View. Here we are all ready for church and decided to take a picture because we thought we all looked so spiffy. This one, of course, is with Dad in it. We really enjoyed our ward there. It took us, it was a couple of miles from our home. This is a tree out in front of our place, and we always have to have a tree house sometime in our life, and so Dad helped to build a tree house up here for the kids. There's the front of our house. You can see Tom in the tree house. The hedge that's down at the bottom was the herb rosemary. In fact, we brought some home to use for herbs when we left Mountain View. And here's a picture of all 3 of them perched up in the tree house. Not too much room, but being in a tree is really fun.
I'm not sure I'm going to take any credit for that treehouse. It doesn't look like it's going to be strong enough to hold up very many people.
This is Tom by the front of our home. This is a fire hydrant that was there. This fire hydrant was decorated up and painted for the bicentennial. I'm not sure, I don't know if this is done at this time or not. You can see a lot of the greenery that we had in our yard. Off to the side you can see our magnolia tree that was so beautiful at certain times of the year. Picture of Tom and I made that t-shirt for Tom. I'd taken a t-shirt class and made a lot of the kids t-shirts. This is a rabbit that they had run loose in Tom's kindergarten class, and if the student wanted to take it home, they could. And Tom, of course, brought it home, and we put him outside on our patio, and it was fun to have home for a weekend. This is December of 1975. This is an owl that Nancy had, and she liked it, so we took a picture of it. Here's Tom. As you can see, he's starting to lose his teeth. That's Nancy's birthday, so it's December 19th, and we're getting ready to sing happy birthday and blow out the candles and have some cake and ice cream. Here Nancy is blowing out the candles. Lovely wallpaper, guys, huh? This is the back part of Springer School. The back part of the school had great play facilities, and we just wanted to have a picture of that, and this is it. Here's Lynette in that area, and so we took a picture of her also. Picture of Mother at the house. Three kids playing together, which they did often. Here's Lynette by the Christmas tree. It's Christmas time. As you can see, she has her Disneyland t-shirt on. We were in Mountain View for Christmas Eve, and this is our Christmas Eve program, and Lynette's reading out of Matthew while we talk about the birth of the Savior. Special moment with Nancy and Mom. The three kids all dressed up, standing in front of our Christmas tree. Lynette's starting to wear glasses here. Then we headed for Salt Lake right after Christmas, and this is out in front of Grandpa and Grandma Isaacson's in the snow. We only saw snow once the 2 years that we were in Mountain View. This is Mount Olympus from Grandpa and Grandma's front porch. Tom again playing outside in the snow. Grandpa Isaacson playing the piano. He had a great voice and had been a piano teacher and sang with the Tabernacle Choir, and we always gathered around the piano to sing Christmas carols at Christmas time. And Grandma Edith out in the kitchen, a great cook who always fed us well while we were there. We also had a big family dinner at Grandma Olson's house with the Olson side of the family. As you can see, there's Cheryl and it's like Reed. There's Jan Marie. Dean on the left-hand side of the table there. It's another close-up picture at Loretta. There's Grandma Olson serving everybody. We used to try and get her to sit down and eat with us, but she just loved to serve and take care of everybody. Now we're back at Mountain View. This is Nancy with a friend. We don't remember her name, Nancy. I don't know if you do or not. Back at Christmas time, Lynette by the Christmas tree, looking very lovely in that new dress. And Nancy by the Christmas tree with her new clothes on, her new things on. And Mother by the Christmas tree. And Mother and all three of the kids all dressed up. Tom, you're almost as tall as Nancy. And here's Nancy. She really knows how to relax out on the couch.
This is another of our many trips to the beach. We believe this is in the Monterey area. The kids are down running into the ocean. And I believe this is looking across at Pebble Beach Golf Course. There's a shot of the three kids and mother on the rocky beach by the ocean. And we love the scenery. The ocean is awesome and very beautiful. It makes for great picture. This is another trip to Monterey in early in 1976. We had a number of friends that we enjoyed in California, and Jim and Claudia Johnson enjoyed traveling to the ocean, and Jim was quite a photographer and enjoyed the scenery, took a lot of pictures down there, and so we went down with them to Point Lobos because that was one of our favorite places for a picture-taking expedition. Here's a view of the ocean and peninsula that juts out from the main shoreland. The scenery is very spectacular in that area. We just love the ocean. One of the things that we really missed when we came back to Salt Lake City. Here's Claudia and Gwen enjoying a visit out by the ocean. Here's an ancient tree that is pretty spectacular. All visiting together. You can see Jim's camera and equipment that he used. A nice picture for Gwen on the shoreline. This is a trip to Mount Palomar Observatory. The road was windy as we went up the mountain to the observatory, and Nancy got sick. And so here we are out looking over the mountains while Lynette is comforting Nancy and Tom is just adding moral support. That's one of our favorite pictures. And here we're going in to look at the observatory at Mount Palomar. A fun trip, but Nancy didn't have a very good time on that trip. She has a tough time traveling in the automobile. Nancy also had a chance to bring home a pet rabbit, and this is a one-eared rabbit, so of course his name was Tonto. This is Easter morning, and the kids have got their Easter baskets full of candy and goodies, and then we had a nice time looking for Easter eggs and looked all over the house, Easter eggs hidden in every nook and corner of the house. And so here we're having a great time finding all those good things to eat. I think Dad ate most of it, but anyway, here we're enjoying that. Here's a picture with the three kids and Gwen, and that's Amy Folsom in the background there, kind of standing toward the back. They were very good friends. And here's a nice picture of Gwen out in the yard of our home there on Rose Avenue and Mountain View.
This is a picture in Mountain View. It's at some hills, and we're looking down into the valley from there. Beautiful flowers that we saw. Like to show some of the foliage from the places where we've been. Uncle Glenn and Aunt Loretta and the kids flew down and spent a few days with us. Here we are on the way to San Francisco, and we stopped at this tree and put all you kids in the tree and took a picture. Here's a couple of views. That's Darren and Tom inside this rock that we saw on the way to San Francisco. Here's Lynette. We're in San Francisco sitting by a big cannon. We were at one of the military bases there in San Francisco at the time. Famous Golden Gate Bridge. We crossed over that many times, and on occasion went to the other side of Sausalito and a few of those places to look around. And Another great picture of the Golden Gate Bridge. It's just amazing that that type of thing can be built. Picture from the mountain there, looking over San Francisco. Great place that I like to go, but would never want to live there. We had a little cat while we were in Mountain View, and this is the cat. We brought that cat home with us, and after a while it got sick and started losing its hair and found out it had sugar diabetes, and we had to put the cat to sleep. Here's Lynette in her jammies playing with the kitty in the morning. Fire engine came down in front of our place, and you kids were very interested in seeing it and went out to look at it, and we took several pictures of you while it was there. It's a shirt that I made for you, Tom. Fascination that kids have for fire engines here. This park that we're going into here, as you can see, that's Lynette in the white shirt, is called Great America. It's just a really fun park, and we were in there with Uncle Glenn and Aunt Loretta and the kids. We're finishing up the trip where they came out to see us. Here is Dean and Darren and Nancy and Tom sitting on a bench there. Gwen on the Delta Flyer. See how beautiful the park was and all of the many well put together rides that they had. Here's an aerial view of it with all kinds of things that can make kids happy. There's Darren and Tom and Nancy. Ride on the train. It was quite a large train, and so it gave a good experience for what it was like to ride on a train. Another one of those fun rides that goes high up in the air and turns you around, and hopefully you haven't just eaten. There's Tom. He's always ready to go on any ride that we took him on. Looks like Lynette and Nancy and Tom in that ride. Another beautiful shot of the park. It wasn't too crowded that day, but as you can see, there was enough people. Stopped to take a little rest. There's Mom and Nancy and Uncle Glenn. Looks like Tom, Lynette, Darren, and Jan Marie. This is how they flew out. This is Glenn's airplane, and it did have room for 6 people, and they're getting ready to take off here. And there's the plane just taxiing out. And here we are heading back home after they have left. This is celebrating the bicentennial in 1976. The ward had a parade. You kids all had your bikes all decorated up with red, white, and blue, and participated in this parade. It was a fun day. This is one of the floats that was made by the ward. The bicentennial was really a large celebration all over the United States. That's me kneeling down. I helped to put the float together. Lynette, there you are with one of your friends, so we don't remember who that was, but probably someone from the war, of course. Getting ready on the float. Looks like we have King Kamehameha in the front there. There's Tom and Lynette, you're hidden by your friend there. Nancy, you're in the front with your bike. Good picture of the float as it came down the street.
This is one of our trips to Muir Park, one of our favorite parks with the big redwood trees and the foliage. Here's the Redwood Trail with Tom and Lynette. You can tell that they're very, very interested in this Muir Park by the excitement that they exude in this picture. Here they are in the roots of a big tree that have fallen over. Kind of shows how shallow the roots are for these big trees. Some of the flowers that are in the park. Beautiful foliage on the coast in all of these parks. And this is the viewpoint for the mother of the forest, the huge redwood trees in the area. And I believe the caption on this is Father of the Forest, so we have both the mother and father of the forest in these two pictures with the kids, Tom and Lynette, enjoying the outdoors. Just a view of the trail, such a serene and beautiful park that we enjoyed visiting very much.
We're getting close to coming home, and I wanted to visit one more time with Kathy and John Hanson. They lived in San Jose, which was about a half hour from where we lived. Again, we don't remember which park this is, but we did spend the day at this park. Just have a lot of fun with cars when kids are little. They think they're really driving them, and oftentimes they're just on a track. There's John Hanson in the car he was in with one of his kids. Lynette in one of the flyers. She was a good sport and willing to go on any ride that we went on.
Here we have returned to Salt Lake City in September of 1976. This little pickup truck we bought to haul some of our stuff. And here's part of the family. We've got Gwen's mother, Nancy, and Edith, and Leona, and my sister Lola. And here Dad is in the back with Gwen and I and Nancy and Lynette and Tom. Here's a trip to Timpanogos Cave that we took that fall. We took Grandma Nancy with us, and we played first in the water down in the bottom of the creek. And whenever you get water and boys, they have to throw rocks into the water. Nancy Ann striking a pose for us on a log across the creek and down below Timpanogos. So then we began the hike up the Timpanogos Trail, and it was a pretty strenuous hike, so we had to take a rest on the way. This is part of the mountain scenery, so beautiful that we love here in the Wasatch Range of the mountains. Here are the kids getting ready for the hike up the trail. Lynette and her mom and some of the fall foliage along the trail, so red and beautiful. The three kids posing on a rock with cliffs of the canyon in the background. Here we're taking a rest on the way up to the caves. Here's a group portrait by the Timpanogos Cave sign Everybody looking pretty chipper. Some of the foliage in the fall. We have beautiful fall scenery in this country. Tom, as a Cub Scout, would be September of 1976. Here we're back in Salt Lake in 1976. This is in October. Kids are putting on a play. We took many trips down to southern Utah, and this is part of the fall scenery. This might be out in the Uintas. This looks like it's on the way to Teasdale, the Battle of Cedar Ridges. This is a picture of the coxcomb on the east side, southeast side of Teasdale. This is a picture of the hillside at the Sunglow Campground, which is just outside of Bicknell. That hillside is full of geodes. We would search for the geodes out of that ground. There's our little white pickup truck at the Sunglow Campground. This, we believe that's the silhouette of Lynette on the hillside of the Sunglow Campground, the mountains there. Tom, as we're looking toward the town of Teasdale, here we're looking west into the clouds in the fall. This is the road along the Fremont River east of Teasdale toward Capitol Reef, and the foliage was spectacular along that Fremont River in the fall of 1976. So we stopped and explored and cut for leaves, making beautiful colored leaf arrangements. Here the kids are looking at the various places down in the country. Wonderful time to visit and to explore. Some of the colorful leaves that are out in the fall time. This is along toward the Thousand Lake Mountains. Nancy Ann is out on that little rise. She ran back toward me while I was taking the picture, and she had on these cloth tennis shoes and ran into a prickly cactus and got spines in her toes, and it was very painful. This is the Teasdale Cultural Hall. We have just recently been to a funeral in that cultural hall. And this is a view over our property that we had in Teasdale.
Sam and Twyla have moved to Grand Junction, and this is the first home that they had in Grand Junction, and we went over to visit with them, and here's Twyla May out in their front yard. This is their backyard, and there you are, Tom. It's needed to have a little more work done on it, but it turned out to be a lovely place. They took us up on a trip while we were there, and here's our whole family with Sam and Twyla. Except Dad, who's taking the picture, huh? Another picture. Love that beautiful blue sky in the background. This is the Colorado National Monument Park that they took us to. This is just a nice overall view of it. Tom up on top of the sign. You can read it. It says 3 rock layers. Here's the sign to prove that we were at the Colorado National Monument. It's a little thing about Major Powell talking about the Colorado River exploration. It's at Green River. This is Goblin Valley on the way home from Sam and Twyla's. This is in Utah with all of the very unique forms that are there. We stopped there 2 or 3 times over our life to look at it again. Here it is then with the background of the sky to show the silhouettes of the formations. Running down to have a good look at it here. Some more of the formations. They've since put these formations into a movie that came out not too long ago. This is coming out of Goblin Valley and on the way home. I used to love those dark, awesome-looking clouds. They often looked like rain, but didn't often do rain. Here we are, 1976, December. This is Christmas, first time we've been back in our home after 2 years in California. This is a picture of Simpson Springs, a little trip that we took during the winter months, and there's Tom standing by the monument. This is Ophir, which is a mining town just out of Salt Lake. Picture of Tom. It was quite snowy that year, and as you can see, the snow was just covered all over our front yard. The bushes that we used to have on the corner are all crushed down because of the weight of the snow. Starting some soccer now. This is a team that Tom was on. He was on it with Roger and Mark, he was one of those three musketeers. This is your birthday, Lynette, in April of 1977. There's Oscar Johnson. My mother had married him after they both lost their mates. And there's Edith and Dad and the rest of the family. Here's a picture of Tom. He means business in this soccer game, doesn't he? Tom again. We went to soccer games between Tom and Nancy almost every weekend, and it has become one of my favorite sports. Here the boys over at the ward as Cub Scouts are getting ready for the Pinewood Derby. All the dads have made the cars and they're ready to go. You can see the track in the foreground. Here we are ready to go. I don't remember who won, Tom, but I don't think it was you.
In May of 1977, here the kids are inspecting the old body of a tour bus. And we're up on the Boulder Mountain looking toward the Lower Bounds Reservoir with the Henry Mountains in the background. We were in our little white Chevy pickup truck, and we had to put on the chains, but and even though the mud is 5 or 6 inches deep, we were able to move across the top of that Boulder Mountain on our way to Boulder. Here we are in Boulder with the family alongside one of these cedar post fences that were used in the early days. Here's Lynette alongside that fence. The fences were quite spectacular. We often visit the Anasazi Indian Village Museum, State Monument, study the early history of the Indians in that area. Here the kids are playing out along the Boulder Creek. We would go over along the plateau and look for Indian arrowheads and petrified wood. You can see that the country is quite green in that area. Dad and Edith and the family alongside of Dad and Edith's Oldsmobile. Grandpa and Tom, they got along really well and good buddies, and they enjoyed the Red Rock country together. Here we are at the Wolverine Petrified Wood area, one of our favorite places to visit and to see the spectacular scenery. A balanced rock in the area of the Circle Cliffs. This is a picture of Boulder on one of our trips down to the Red Rock country. You can notice the snow on the top of the Boulder Mountains. So this trip is in May of 1977. This is a picture of the cedar post fences that were used in the early days. One of our favorite camping places was at Deer Creek. Here the kids are playing in Deer Creek. This is an overlook to the Circle Cliffs area. Truman would lead us down into that backcountry in the Circle Cliffs area. I think we're on our way past the Wolverine Petrified forest area down towards Silver Falls Creek. This is the four-wheel drive that Truman used. We would ride in the back of that. We also used our white Chevy pickup truck. Here's Truman looking for petrified wood in a wash area in that country. Dad and Truman, with Truman hauling a large piece of petrified wood back toward the truck. Here's a picture of our white Chevy truck. It wasn't a four-wheel drive, but it was certainly agile enough to go into that backcountry. A picture of the Red Rock scenery in that Circle Cliffs area. Dad and Edith looking for petrified wood. That was one of their favorite pastimes in this backcountry. Here's Gwen looking over the petrified logs that have been uncovered in this wash. The colors in the ground are certainly spectacular. A large petrified log and on the side of this hill that's been washed clear from the rains. Here are the kids in the Deer Creek looking for arrowheads and other things. This is what we call roughing it, as long as we're close to the motel so we can go get our hair washed and have the conveniences of modern life. We made a trip over to St. George, and this is in the Snow Canyon area. So on our way home, we stopped at Fillmore and visited the Territorial Museum with a lot of memorabilia of our forefathers that came into the country. For example, here's the original headstone for Amasie Mason Lyman, who came with Brigham Young in the early pioneers settling in the Salt Lake Valley. A picture of Amasie Mason Lyman. Here are the kids in the office of the Territorial Museum. We had quite a nice trip. Beginning in June of 1977, Tom played soccer with the boys in his school and with his friends Roger Brockbank and Mark Sheffield, and many soccer matches that we went to. Here's Jim Rock, the coach of the boys team that did such a great job in teaching the boys how to play the game and play with good sportsmanship. Here's a shot of the team holding their trophies from one of the many victories that they had. Here's Tom holding a trophy for the soccer games. Here's Tom with his mother, who taught him everything he knows about playing soccer. For example, giving him a lesson on how to avoid kicking the ball. And mother and son enjoying a good time together. Here we are. I believe this is at Mirror Lake, sitting on a log and enjoying the stream going by in the Uintas, posing in the trunk of a dead tree. We took a guided tour down through the Capitol Reef National Park and stayed at the Rim Rock Motel. It had a famous Coke machine that gave out lots of drinks. We went up onto the side of the Boulder Mountain. This is looking back toward the Water Pocket Fold. Here, I believe that's Tom underneath a rock getting out of the sun. It was quite warm. And we're having lunch, which was 2 pieces of bread and a piece of bologna made by our guide at this little site on the creek that comes off from the Boulder Mountain. Tom stepped into that creek, and the rock was slippery, and he slipped down and went over the edge of that little cliff and into a pool of water down below. We leaned over the edge of the rock and pulled him up out of the little pool of water. But kind of a scary experience there for a minute. It shows the creek going down through where it's worn its path down through the rocks. Here's Nancy out on the rim at Capitol Reef in such a beautiful sunset.
We're getting ready to take a trip. We still have the white truck. The thing that was neat about it is that you kids were young enough and the truck was wide enough that all 5 of us could fit on the front seat. We didn't ever have to have anybody in the back. We were going to the San Rafael Swell. The sign says Buckhorn Indian Ridings. One of the main reasons we were going to the San Rafael Swell was to see some of those. Here on this wall you can see an example of what I was talking about. The very slight dark figures on the face of the cliff. Annette, here's a picture of you. You're starting to really grow up and you're becoming a really attractive young woman here. Started the soccer for Tom. Roger and Mark and Tom all played on the same team. Picture of the whole team with the coaches in the background. I like the uniforms. This is just an experience that Mom and Dad had. The ward went to Lake Powell one year, and we had that houseboat. We slept up on the top of it. Several of the ward members brought boats, and we really had a great experience. I think this is Dean Pace's boat. He had one of the fastest, fanciest boats on the trip. Here we are pulled into one of the little coves, preparing to buckle down for the night. Used to fish off the boat. I did it too and thought it was great. We were fishing for bass, and here I am at, as you can tell by the pole, I've caught one. Made it a lot of fun. We cooked them on the boat while we were fishing, while we were staying there and fishing. This is Rainbow Bridge, a nice little hike that we took, one of the great sights that we see at Lake Powell. Another view of the Rainbow Bridge. Walter Fassman, I think you all remember him, had a great telescope, and he brought it to Lake Powell, and here Grant Brockbank is checking out some sunspots. This is in our backyard. You can see the clothesline pole we've never removed. Every time we think about it, the kids want to keep it and hang on it. Snow on the grass. This is downstairs. Look at that rug. It used to be the rug we had downstairs. Tom and Nancy playing with our little cat that we brought home from California. His name was Tigger. This is Christmas of that year, 1977. Got a foosball table. Tom, you're still probably the expert on that. Got a little trampoline that we used to exercise and just play on, and there's Grandma Olson sitting at the bottom left. Nancy, you also took soccer. This is you in one of those great big kicks. Look out, I'm going to make a goal. Closer up picture of you there. Dad and I learned very quickly to have soccer be one of our favorite sports. And here's another shot, Nancy, with your legs showing that you knew what you were doing.